You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chilson, and this is my review for Bros. Now, before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. Bros is a 2022 romantic comedy directed and co-written by Nicholas Stoller and co-written and starring Billy Eichner. The film follows Bobby and Aaron, two men who have some major commitment issues, who stumble upon one another one night at a club. Things really start to get interesting when the two of them start to catch feelings for one another. Have to admit, initially, the trailers for this did not really move the needle for me. Some of the humor was okay, some of it was quite cringy. So I was hesitant about Bros. However, it is another mainstream queer film with a ton of queer talent, both in front of and behind the camera. So I knew I was going to support it, obviously. Yeah, that is still groundbreaking because what queer cinema are we getting in the mainstream theatrical release schedules, even here in 2022? Yeah, we're getting more and more on streaming, and we've mentioned television has been way ahead of the curve for some time now. And there are the sad, depressing award dramas that get limited releases and critical acclaim. But when it comes to mainstream films, mm, it's still pretty slim pickings, honestly. And ultimately, I think Bros is a really fun rom com. One for the current age that I think will delight most fans of the genre. Saying that, though, I am not a fan of the genre. And admittedly, I think that makes me a little less overly enthused compared to a lot of the other reactions I've seen, though I do think it is still a strong film. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, I have to say, particularly, I loved Luke McFarlane. He is so dreamy. I actually think he gave the most nuanced and developed performance in the film. He was the standout for me as a character that easily could have been very, very one dimensional. And he brought a lot of life, a lot of charm, and character into this person that really worked. Billy Eichner was also very good, though a slightly less likable character for a rom com lead. It's just great to see all of these queer folks that I know and love from various other things. We had Miss Lawrence, we had Miss T.S. Madison, and then we had Miss Dot Marie Jones, who, in honesty, has been my lesbian gym teacher pretty much my entire life. In everything I watch, I feel like I see her pop up as the gym teacher. And it's always a delight each and every time I do get to experience her in a new project. Guy Branum was also fantastic. I just wish we got a little bit more of his character, but he was just the right amount of that funny, sassy gay best friend to his less funny, less sassy gay best friend. Do think the script was also really strong. And what I appreciate about a film like Bros is it does kind of my favorite thing these days, where it pokes fun at the tropes of romantic comedies. It really kind of has a good time with the type of film it's making while also making a really solid film of the genre. And Bros does that very well. It definitely has nods to the typical rom coms, though it also follows the typical rom com formula and creates a really satisfying experience if you're coming in looking for that romantic comedy. But further than that, I think it also is quite a sophisticated script. It brings up a lot of issues. Obviously, if you're within the community, it brings up issues targeted directly at us and how we interact with one another. A lot of deeper topics that come up. There's this specific monologue, if you will, from Billy Eichner about growing up in his own skin and how that led to his strength and resiliency that was very poignant, and I loved it. And we get those deeper moments throughout. Luke McFarlane's character slowly peels back the layers of his upbringing and how that shaped who he is. But we deal with everything from like body image issues to masculinity and the attractiveness of that masculinity within our community. Obviously, representation, and this is a great film for said representation. Yes, we have two cis white dudes as the romantic leads, but it pretty much directly aims fire at them too. Nothing's off limits, and that's what I really enjoyed. And it's funny enough. I will admit, I was hoping to laugh a little bit more, but I laughed consistently as I was watching the film. Particularly, there is a celebrity cameo who comes and visits the museum before it opens. That was the funniest part of the whole film for me. I thought it was great. And really, the uses of celebrity cameos was well handled. So, what didn't work so well when it comes to bros? Well, as great as I thought their performances were, I have to say, I don't know if I was completely buying the chemistry and compatibility of our leads. They were quite different people with very different interests and different hobbies. And when it came down to it, the ultimate crux of the film, you know, the typical rom com falling out moment, the big issue that blows up this potential romance. I mean, we have a conversation about it, but I don't know that, especially on Billy Eichner's Bobby side, I don't know if we really address the issue at hand. It's a deeper seated defense mechanism within his character that is kind of solved and kind of addressed, but not really. I don't know. I just kind of still felt like, yeah, I think it might be best if these two don't end up together. I just don't know if they're all that compatible, if we're being real. Sorry. Also, yeah, I mean, it really goes by the rom com formula and does implement a lot of those rom com tropes, whether it is a bit tongue in cheek or not. Eh. And, well, they take aim right at me at one part in the film. I am kind of a cynical a hole, and a lot of it is just a bit sweet for my overall liking, specifically once it starts to really lean into the rom com in that third act. But to contradict myself just a bit, I also think the second and third act are much stronger than the first because it does take just a bit to settle into the tone of the film. The first act really seems like it doesn't know whether it wants to stay as like full on raunchy comedy or go into rom com, in which it takes just a tad too long to settle in. But overall, I think Bros is a funny enough film that gives you all of the romantic beats. It lays on all those tropes you're hoping and expecting, and it does it in an effective manner. So if you're looking for just kind of a gay old time at the movie theater, Bros definitely delivers that. And I definitely think you should see this for a full price ticket. And if you're looking for a slightly raunchy comedy, I also think this hits that spot. It updates the genre just enough without, well, changing it too far off of what you love. So that is my review for Bros. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. What did you think of Bros? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.